Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Allison Parker, and thank you for returning for more information about the literacy achievement gap. So I want you to know that this video and the next two videos will be specifically focused on the reading achievement gap, what a reading achievement gap is, why a reading achievement gap exists, and what we can do to close the reading achievement gap. So stay tuned for this video through the end, as well as the next two videos. Let's get into it. What is a reading achievement gap? A reading achievement gap is a reading difference or disparity in data and how students perform in literacy. We look at how students perform across five areas or five pillars of reading, and they are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And so those are the five main pillars that help children become strong readers. And a reading achievement gap is a disparity, a difference in the data. So when we talk about a difference in the data, we're talking about how students compare to one another in the data. We can compare female students to male students. We can compare students by race and ethnic groups. So how do Black students perform against white students? How do Hispanic students perform in literacy? How do Asian students perform in literacy? So a reading achievement gap looks at the differences, the disparities in performance and ability between groups. We look at gender, we look at race and ethnicity, but we also look at socioeconomic levels. How do lower class students perform when compared to middle class students and then higher class students? So there are discrepancies and differences in the data. So I want you to think about your own childhood. And I want you to comment down below. Think about your own experiences. So I'll go first, okay? I'm going to model and go first. When I was a child, I didn't struggle in literacy, but I struggled in math. My nightmare began in the fourth grade. And for a variety of reasons, that struggle continued from fourth grade all the way through 12th grade. I can remember it. It was a nightmare. And in the comments, share your experiences. I want to build community and make this a safe space where we can support and help each other. If you had a positive experience in school, maybe it's your child now who's having a negative experience. If your child is having a negative experience and you notice that your child is struggling in reading, that there's a reading disparity, a reading achievement gap, because we have students performing at the highest level, we have students performing at the moderate middle level, and then we have lower performing students. So where did you perform, and or where is your child currently performing? When we look at the five pillars of reading, we're thinking about phonemic awareness, we're thinking about phonics, we're thinking about fluency, we're also thinking about vocabulary and reading comprehension. If students are struggling at the lower level pillars, so phonemic awareness is at the lower level, phonics and fluency and vocabulary. If there are gaps in these areas, then we know that there will be a reading achievement gap in comprehension. Students will struggle to understand what they read if the lower pillars are sort of out of whack. Students are struggling in those areas. So another area when we consider reading achievement gaps, we think about parenting skills. Parenting skills impact the reading achievement gap. So in a separate video, I'll talk about the four types of parents and how parents are grouped into these four areas. And depending on what type of parent they choose to be, that impacts literacy as well. So we see these gaps at the school level. We see these gaps at the city level. We see these gaps at the national level and at the state level, as well as globally. So we know what the research says. The research says that there's a reading achievement gap. It's been in existence. I'm 53 years old. It's been in existence for as long as I've been on this planet. And so it manifests and shows up in different areas on students' report cards. So school systems make parents aware of these gaps. They show up on standardized tests and high stakes achievement tests. They show up as lower reading comprehension levels or higher reading comprehension levels. So at every grade level, we expect for students to be able to reach these milestones. Some students reach the milestones and some students do not reach the milestones. So what I want to do is empower you and let you know that there is a reading achievement gap. There is a sense of urgency to close it if parents are aware. So if you're a parent and your child is struggling, I want you to pay particular attention to these videos in this series. So I talked about if students have gaps in phonemic awareness and phonics and fluency and vocabulary and reading comprehension. I just want to take a minute just to clarify what these words mean. Okay, so when we talk about phonemic awareness, we're talking about students' ability to hear the sounds in words such that children can generate and give us rhyming words. Students can, if I say to a child, say hat, give me a word that rhymes with hat. The kid should be able to say bat, cat, sat, fat. Some kids do this with relative ease, and some kids struggle with this. Or we'll give the kids two rhyming words and say fat, bat. Do they rhyme? And some kids go, they're reading your facial expression because they can't hear. They'll go, no, they don't rhyme. So I'm talking kids I've seen in my private practice, K through 3, they struggle with this. So they can focuses on differentiating sounds needs to be fully developed. There are some areas that are weak and they just need to be developed through practice and reading and phonemic awareness sessions where students are getting the practice that they need in these areas. And it's not just rhyming words. That's just the easiest example to provide you. When we say phonics, we mean letter sounds. And so students who read figure out sounds on their own, and some kids just don't. Most kids need what we call explicit instruction in phonics. And some schools offer phonemic awareness support for students and phonics support, while some schools believe that kids don't need phonics or they only need it in kindergarten. I've seen this as a literacy coach. A lot depends on the principal's mindset. Oh, they don't need phonics. They're in first grade now. They don't need phonics. Or let's focus on the comprehension and never mind these lower baby areas. But everything is sequential, including reading, and without following this sequence, kids have gaps in their learning. So I also mentioned the word fluency. What do I mean by fluency? So fluency has to do with a student's ability to read accurately and fluently at a good pace, at a good speed, at a good rate. So we're looking for the rate, the speed, and accuracy. All of that is made up of fluency. And so when we notice that kids are reading sort of like this, one word at a time. That's not fluent reading. That is reading that is hampered. It's reading that is laborious. The kid is struggling to get from one word to the next. So the brain can't focus on understanding because the brain is spending all energy trying to figure out what on earth those words on the paper in front of me are. So if kids have gaps in rhyming words, they don't know their letters and their sounds. They don't know that G has two sounds like G and J. They don't know the vowels. They don't know the consonants. They don't understand what a digraph is. They don't, for fluency, if they don't know enough sight words, they're trying to decode irregular words that we have vowels that break rules. They just don't know enough. And so because they don't know enough, we have this reading achievement gap. And so the next area, the next pillar is vocabulary. Some children have a robust vocabulary. They have what's called a high level of expressive language skills. So their vocabularies are strong. They have a lot of words stored in long-term memory. And when they're ready, they execute and they utilize these words. Some kids may not use the words verbally, but they understand. That's receptive language. They understand that the word melancholy means sad because they've heard that word in the book. The teacher talked about it, or mom, you read the book and you defined it, or you helped the kid use context clues and figure out that word. So children need a high vocabulary level as well to be able to close a gap. In order to comprehend, you have to know a lot of words and what a lot of words mean. And so comprehension has to do with putting all those prerequisite areas together to understand what you've read. And so can a kid determine the main idea? Or now we find ourselves calling it the central idea. Who is that book about? What was that book about? Why did this happen? Can the student make inferences or educated guesses? Some kids can, and some kids just can't. And so maybe they can do it when a story is read to them, but when they read, they can't. So there are so many differences in the data, and I want to make you aware of this. If your child is not performing on grade level, I'm sure, you're not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I've been teaching since 1998. I started teaching in 1998. There was a reading achievement gap then. There's an even bigger reading achievement gap now. Back in the day, kids would want to read. They had access to books. They picked up books. They took books home. They borrowed books. They read the books. They had conversations about the books. At home, they were expected. Something has happened in society. And there's this shift in mindset about the power of books at home. And just we're at a point in society where we're relying on just the school rather than supporting kids at home for a variety of reasons, which I will mention in my next few videos. So I just want you to understand that 3/4 of children in grades K through 12 are not reading on grade level. 3/4. Do you know that there are 4/4 in a whole? 3/4 of students in grades K through 12. So this is not a kindergarten problem. This is not a first grade issue. This is not just K through 2. This is not the upper grades 3 through 5. Oh, it's the state test. No, this doesn't stop in elementary school. If you stop and listen to students read in middle school and in high school, my God, you will find that they are disfluent readers. They have no word attack skills. They don't know how to figure out what that word is on the paper. And so they rely on guessing, and more guessing, or they mumble through it, or they skip it. And so there's a sense of urgency, and that's why I created this channel. My goal is to help empower mothers who are concerned that their children are not getting what they need at school. Children have never gotten everything they needed at school. They always needed mom to support them at home. And for whatever reason, mom is not available, not consistent. And I want to alert you that we need you, mom. We can't do this without you. You are a powerful being. And maybe somewhere along the line, you forgot about your power. I want to remind you of your power because literacy matters. So why does literacy matter? Well, kids travel all the way from early childhood into high school. Some of them finish high school and they graduate. They graduate because they've earned their credits and they move on. So they graduate. Some of these kids earn bare minimum credits. Some of them can barely read. and they graduate, and then they're at a point in their life where they think to themselves, now, what am I going to do with my life? It's kind of hard to figure that out if you don't have any literacy skills. And I'm talking basic literacy. We're at a disadvantage if our 18-year-old, 17 or 18-year-old doesn't have a plan because they know that they're functionally illiterate. Or we have kids who get all the way through high school and they get to 12th grade or they get to 10th grade or 11th grade and they go, you know what? I'm done with this. I've been struggling since I was in first grade. I'm done with this. And they decide to go get a job and they get a job and they never get their high school diploma. And you might be thinking, so what? Who cares? If they got a job, they're benefiting society. But really, are they? Are they benefiting themselves and their families? So literacy matters because there's a direct correlation. There's an intimate relationship between literacy levels, literacy rates, and wealth building capacities, income earning capacities. And I can think of 10 people right now that I know who, for whatever reason, in my family, um, people that I know from friends who have children, I can name at least 10 to 20 people right now. I'll just focus on my own family who didn't finish high school or who did finish high school and they didn't finish reading at a powerfully literate level, and so they didn't go beyond that level of education. They didn't go and they did not go and enter a trade and learn a skill like plumbing, electrician, engineering. They didn't. And so now their income levels are limited. They're stifled. They're not elevating. And so we know inflation is increasing, but incomes aren't. And this is part of the problem. So I want you to understand that there's a direct relationship between literacy and wealth, and that there's an emergency for us to join together. And those who want to join me in this mission, I'm going to ask you to think about whether what I've said, do you agree with it or do you disagree with it? Maybe you have a different perspective. I've been a literacy coach for the last 7 years. I've taught since 1998. I love children. I love teaching. And I'm concerned. And so I even have a private practice in Brooklyn, New York. And so I've been doing this on my own alongside working in the public schools since 2012. And what I've noticed is it's not enough. I'm saying, Allison, you have to go online. You have to reach people at a distance, let them find you, because I know parents that I know, particularly mothers, are looking for support and help in this area. And so I'd love for you to share this video with someone, to please comment below. The next video is on this video focused on what the reading achievement gap is. The next one will be focused on why we have this reading achievement gap. Why does this gap still exist? I'm hoping that you'll join me on the other side, the side that focuses on developing literacy at home with empowering our children in literacy so that we can help close the reading achievement gap. I look forward to supporting you. Again, please like this video. Please share this video with 5 other mothers. Please comment. I want your opinion. How do you feel about what I've stated? And please, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Until the next video, ciao for now.